Here we are. Welcome back to Mercy and the Manz episode. I don't even know because I'm not keeping track that way.
Yeah, we only ever check afterwards, which doesn't help us in the moment.
It's fine. But this is where we talk about gigs, married life during gig season. And I mean, it's always gig season for us because that's all we do. And being in the band together and all that good stuff. And we have some good stuff to talk about this time. We had a Valentine's gig and we had a travel gig, all like within days of each other.
Yes, both weird in their own different ways.
So weird. So let's get started. Cut, whatever I'm going to do. I'm probably not going to do any kind of transition there, but it felt like that's what I should say. Valentine's Day, you start with that because you kind of had that one more, like that was more you and your gig, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, oh, that was really loud. I don't. It's a gig that came in like last minute, like a week out, which we've been getting a lot of really last minute stuff lately, which is a good problem to have if we're not booked. But it's so different than the way we normally do things, which is. I mean, we're taking meetings right now about weddings in August of 2027. So when somebody when somebody messages like a week or a week and a half out from their event looking for a band, like my first instinct is that it's a scam or that like there's something off about it.
Yeah.
Like it's because who's looking for entertainment? Like who doesn't have entertainment squared away like a week and a half out? But I'm often reminded that people like they either have never booked a band or booked a DJ or something like that before, and so their concept of how much lead time they need to find somebody is much different than like what our expectation of that would be.
Right. Well, we think
Um,
we're so important.
yeah,
We're the main
well,
event.
but that's part of it, though. I mean, like you and I, we have had a lot of our events have been people that have wanted us, specifically liked us, came after us, wanted to book us, and so when you're kind of faced with like, well, maybe these people are like don't necessarily care what band they get, or like they're just kind of like, yeah, it'd be cool if we get them, but if they're not available, then like they're not planning their whole event around whether we're available or not,
Right.
which hurts my ego. Um,
Immensely. Because we have had a couple events in the last year that one scheduled around like a corporate event scheduled around our availability. We have had a couple couples schedule their weddings around us too, and they've changed their dates because they wanted to have us. So like when we have the opposite, we're like, ew, what gives?
yeah, I don't feel like that's the norm, but it sure is nice when it happens.
Yeah.
It's a nice ego stroking of the ego. But yeah, it was labeled as an anniversary party, which I guess it technically was. But we had like gone back and forth about whether we wanted the full band or what, and it turned out it was going to be a really small party, and there was a lot of going back and forth with the client and the venue, and because it was like a short notice kind of gig, it feels like all that correspondence is like shoved into this small space, which makes it feel more urgent.
Well, here's
I
one
mean, I
thing.
guess it is a more urgent, but
Right. And here's the thing to also point out is we aren't represented. So we book ourselves. People find us generally word of mouth or vendor referral, um, search engine, Reddit. Reddit's been a big search for bands lately, I feel.
well, Reddit's become the new like that's word of mouth. I mean, you
Right.
can't AI has taken over like search engine results, and even before that, like the sponsored results skewed like for a long time now have skewed at least on like Google, and maybe not so much for, I don't know. I'm no tech expert, but like it it's been a long time since you could type a question in and get just like a flat result of like a non sort of like nobody putting their finger on the scale.
Right.
And so Reddit's become this place where it's like one of the only places where people actually put their opinion or actually like have just like kind of ongoing discussions. So when people ask for great, wedding bands or great cover bands or whatever dance bands in the Bay Area, like we often end up in those threads, which is nice
Yes.
because it has led to quite a bit of work.
Yeah, but that all being said, this was through a total different avenue, which is this, I think it used to be called Gig Master or Gig Salad, or
No, that one
I can't
still
remember.
exists. I think
Oh,
the Bash I think came out of nowhere. It's just another offshoot of one of these other websites where they're just trying to get people to like us to spend money to be in sponsored results or whatever.
so all that to say is like this kind of ad, or the way that people find it's very for the lack of a better word, amateurish, of like it's almost like the white pages, or the yellow pages or something like that, and you'll get a thing where 10 bands can bid on the gig or something,
Well,
or
they also,
send.
yeah, they've also done this thing too, which I think is a weird way to do it, which is like the client might ping one band, and then it gets like sent out to like however many other similar vendors. So I don't know if that's something that the client decides or something this website's just doing, but like you'll respond to an inquiry and then kind of realize afterwards, like I don't know if they were specifically asking, for our availability or whatever.
Right.
So it's sort of a cattle call, um, and which is isn't in and of itself a problem, but it's like it definitely, I would say, is a lower budget, some lower budget events coming from that specific place,
Right. And it's and I feel like it's generally people that have never hired a band before.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about like a lot of the stuff that we get. Like sometimes I'll get stuff, inquiries anyway, how serious they are, who knows? But it'll be for like the next day or like 2 days from now. It'll be
Yeah.
like Thursday and the party's on Saturday or
Right.
something, and it's like
What are
if
you
if
even doing?
if this is real, then what is going on over there where you are? And
Right.
sometimes it's like, come play for an old folks home or my daughter's birthday or something like that. So like maybe the stakes are low, but it's just it feels like, who how much could a band possibly be? They're all just sitting around waiting to work, right? I mean, nobody's got any plans, so
That's exactly.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what this particular client was like, but it did seem for what this event actually ended up being, it did seem a little uh a little casual on the old entertainment side.
Right. And that I mean that you going into it thinking like, is this real? Is this a real lead? Because of having had all those experiences prior through this the platform, it made it we kind of were so tentative, like, is this a real gig? Is this really happening? Like, are we really doing this? That's how it felt to me anyway. And so like you trying to gather information in a very short amount of time and put together a set and put together what the configuration was going to be,
I mean, it's not
and all the restrictions
yeah.
of the venue.
Well,
So,
and that's the thing is you're also trying to get the contract. I mean, we basically don't do anything without a contract. Even the small gigs we do, we usually get a contract for. And so that process is also sped up on a short notice. So you're trying to get like the gig scoped out. Like, what does this client actually expect us to do? Um, because I want to protect us against like, we go, oh, yeah, yeah, we cool. And then we get to the gig and they're like, well, we expect you to do this, and this, whatever. Um, or you don't get paid. It's just like it's just good business to make sure that stuff's handled.
right.
And yeah, like you're squaring stuff up with the venue, you're squaring stuff up with the client, you're trying to make sure that like you got musicians lined up because this didn't end up being a full band. We ended up doing it as a quartet.
Yeah.
With you, me, Alan, and Danny. I was playing drums, which is super fun. It's like a different way of doing things. It's a different product, right? It's not the dance band. It's a more. I mean, we were upbeat and people did dance, but it's more of a cocktail hour kind of background music vibe than
Right.
a like, hey, we're controlling the dance floor, like we're entertaining this room full of people kind of thing.
Yeah. And so we have the gig. We find out like all of these little things that were happening that, again, I wish people knew that as a married couple, it's really nice to be under the same roof, to be in real time working stuff out and talking things through of logistics and everything like that. But then also sometimes that can be all we talk about. And
Yeah.
there's sometimes we're like, can we not be business partners right now? But there were all these little things. It was that of like, I haven't got a contract, or there now we have to talk weather contingencies because it was maybe going to rain.
Right.
Um, Alan's kicking bass, but guess what? Alan's car broke down and he needs a ride. So are we all three going to fit in the car, and are you going to pick him up and me be there and all squeezed in the Subaru, or are we driving separately? I hate to drive now these days, so I was not looking forward to driving myself, but I was willing to do it because Alan was doing us a solid and essentially covering two instruments because he was going to play bass and keys, and he sings. Um, and you know, just the right thing to do. But so you're making all these calls as business partners,
We're
as
also, yeah, we also, not to cut you off, but we were also handling sound because it was a low budget gig. And like our sound needs on a gig like that, like we don't need to run in ears, we don't need subwoofers, we don't need a bunch of pro lighting. We didn't need any lighting.
right.
And so it's like, oh, okay, we'll bring in a couple speakers and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like the venue, which we've both have worked this venue before, maybe me more recently than you, but it's a restaurant and it's got a little private event space as well and a little outdoor stage. Not a little outdoor stage, but like, you know, a big concrete kind of pad for bands and a lawn. And I think especially because it's Valentine's Day, but I think when I've played there in the past, we've either been in the little kind of private event space, which is its own building, kind of cut off from everything else, or like it's been sort of a headline show where it's like a Sunday picnic or something like that, and they're like selling tickets, and there's a band on the stage, and it's kind of like what they're doing.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that
I haven't
there.
done that in a while. I don't know if they still do that. So, but like what we found out was, and there was a number of confused emails being sent back and forth because I didn't understand what the venue was like trying to get us to do because they were I can't remember even how they were putting it, but like what ended up happening, which didn't make any sense to me at the time when they were trying to explain it. Sorry, I'm like trying to walk back into what they how they're even putting it. They had us set up on the concrete pad and then put speakers all the way across the lawn, like 65, 70 feet away, pointed back at us and away from the restaurant because they didn't want like the music or whatever to disturb people having dinner.
Right.
Because the restaurant, or at least part of the restaurant's right behind this patio. And I thought we were going to be on the patio with the speakers facing towards the lawn.
towards
So
the
we would,
towards the venue.
yeah, so we'd be in the same, like a normal setup, just
Right.
not on the stage, instead on the patio. And they were like, no, you're going to be on the stage. And then you set this. So it was like,
It was really weird.
and we don't have sound crew with us, right? Normally you'd be like, all right, that's sort of its own kind of weird thing, but we have people out there mixing and they can kind of walk around and just see what it sounds like. We just kind of had to guess.
Yeah.
Because there's a fine line between like filling up the space and making it so that everybody knows there's a band there and blowing everybody out because we have the two speakers turned way up to like cover this space, but people are right over there like having cocktails or whatever. So it's like it's not ideal. It's not the way you would normally do things.
Right.
We were happy to do it in case this restaurant is watching this, but it was another sort of like logistical challenge.
There's always something.
Yeah.
On every gig, there's always something. Like there's just always one little thing.
Yeah. Well, and then the day before, we get an email from the client who's like, "Oh, we're gonna do a little wedding, kind of joke wedding ceremony," and
And I got up in arms because
well,
then I was thinking we got duped.
yeah,
They hired a wedding band, but they didn't want to hire a wedding band, but they they're like trying to be sneaky or get one over on us. And not even that we would chart, we don't like inflate our prices for weddings. Our base rate is our base rate. But there
Yeah.
was something that felt just kind of like, is someone trying to get one over on me? That's what I didn't like.
Well, there's a perception that like if you mention the word wedding, that everybody's prices go up, exponentially, and that may be true um, for a lot of vendors, and sometimes it's true for us. I mean, just like cards on the table, like a wedding is a dramatically more involved, like customer service heavy, unique, uh, long day.
Yes.
Like you're talking about the difference of like if you're playing a corporate event, you might load in at 4 or 5, and then like play like 7 or whatever. Like it's a much more condensed day. They usually don't have like a lot of song requests, or there's not a lot of like moving parts to the event. Like the event starts, then you come on and play and you go home. Versus a wedding, it's like, okay, you might have to be there at noon, 1, 2, o'clock. And then you're like working sometimes every single part of this wedding, and then finishing up at 10, 11, 12. Home at 12, 1, 2. Like it ends up being a 12 plus hour day
Yeah.
sometimes, with a ton of work on the front end of like timelines. And so it's like it is a cliche that you mention wedding and the price goes up, but at the same time, like the work on a birthday party versus the work on a wedding is not usually close to the same amount.
Well, right. And the fact that we weren't the full band and we weren't doing all that work, but there was still this thing of just, it's my feeling of not wanting to be taken advantage
Yeah,
of
for
and for
sure.
someone trying to get something over on me. If we
Yeah.
come to the agreement that, like, yeah, we can give you a discount, but we're not showing up. We're not doing special dances.
Hmm.
We're not doing MC services. We're not handling sound for all these zones. We're just showing up like this and going rogue kind of thing. Then yeah, we can talk about a price difference. But when like the day before, the night before, sending this quick, oh, by the way, there's just going to be this little sneaky vow, renewal wedding ceremony, and it was just kind of like, okay, now what are we going
Yeah.
into? Like there was just that kind of feeling.
It's funny how like how much we are like on guard for that as like small business owners,
Yeah.
like thinking that everybody's trying to get one over on us or something.
Well, even and then to add another wrench in the whole machine. Um, so we had decided that you were going to pick up Alan, and I was going to go with you guys. An hour before we needed to leave for the event, I had a weird freak accident where I got a chemical burn in my eye, right on my eyeball. And it's so weird. I ended up getting a splash of alkaline in my eye. And this is when, also being a married couple, getting ready to go to a gig where we're both on the gig. What do you do? When do you call it? When do you call in a sub? The good thing is that you and I don't panic. We've never really panicked. And we've been through some things. We've been rear-ended on the freeway in a hit and run on the way to Tahoe gig, blew a tire once. Like there have been things that we've had to handle, and we've never missed a gig, and we've never blown up at each other. We've never had like, whatever, but it's always this thing of like where we stand and stare at each other for like 30 seconds, and it's like nobody speaks, and it's just kind of like mind racing of what does this mean and what are we going to do. um I decided that I needed to go to the emergency eye doctor, and luckily I really lucked out. I'm going to shout out to Shoreline Optometry on Shoreline in Mountain View. She picked up her cell phone and she met me within an hour and a half of my calling her, and opened up on a Saturday for me and accommodated my hoping for the best. And we all know that I'm a pessimist, so that doesn't usually happen very often.
Did she check your credit before she opened the door
I
up,
know,
or?
I know. Oh man. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be as ready as possible. I didn't put hardly any makeup on because I was like, I don't know if I should. I didn't have any pain, which was really odd. Um, and
You also should give a little context as to why you got a chemical burn. So, my wife does a thing where when she identifies a problem or something that she is, and this is my wife in case you haven't watched this before. In this case, GERD or acid reflux, chronic acid reflux. Uh, she comes up with basically researches and comes up with basically every single fix you could possibly have for those problems, and then rolls them all out kind of simultaneously. So this particular chemical was an alkaline pH balancer, so that she could have low pH water to hopefully lower the acidity of your stomach. But you decided to try it for the first time on a gig day and didn't even get to try it because you like had opened the dropper and all you did was like try to put the lid back on or whatever, and it sprayed in your face,
in
which
my
doesn't
face.
seem like something that should happen on a product that could literally blind you.
Right. So luckily it wasn't like you had said, you were like, well, because I'm in the bathroom flushing my eye and not wanting and trying not to panic. Roxy's here also, and I never want to upset her. But I can always tell when you know. Part of it is probably I hardly ever call you by your name.
That's
So
true.
so when I go Kyle and you were like, what? Like immediately the tone,
It's like being it's like your mom using your full name or something. It's
yeah,
like,
because
I don't think I'm in trouble. It's more that somebody's in trouble and something's happening.
yeah, so it's Kyle, what? Can you come here, please? And he was like up in a flash. You didn't even like hesitate. And then I was
What
like,
if somebody's breaking into the house and I have to like fly into action?
I think my voice would be a little different than that. I'd hope. But and then I told you what had happened and that I was flushing my eye. I'm going to flush for 10, 20 minutes. Can you look things up for me? And you did. And we still didn't quite know what I should do, but luckily I called the doctor.
There's not a lot of literature on what you should do if you get a pH balance, water balancing. There's plenty for like other alkaline substances like lime or lye or cement or these things that are like heavy chemical, either cleaners or like industrial products, but not a lot of guidance on what you should do if you get your little water droplets splash in your eye. And the packaging on the actual product said, yeah, just flush. So I'm thinking like, well, it's food grade. I don't know. I'm not a chemist, So I'm thinking, oh, it's food grade. You definitely don't want to let it sit on there, but you've been flushing. It's probably fine. And then you find out from your optometrist that like a you did do the right thing by immediately and thoroughly flushing your
Oh,
eye.
because PSA, alkaline does not self neutralize like other acids do. Like if you get like an acid is lemon or lime and then you squirt yourself in the face with the lemon or lime, um it will flush itself. Like acid will dilute itself. Alkaline does not dilute itself or self neutralize. It'll keep boring. Like it just keeps going and burning through.
I've never
So
tried to take acid by putting it in my eyeball, but taken it a number of other ways. Um, but also, this is your chemistry lesson for the day. The more you know.
yeah. So yeah, like he was gonna say, my doctor did confirm that one, I did have a chemical burn, and she explained that it was kind of like when she's like, remember when you're little and you scraped your knee, but you didn't bleed, but you oozed? That is on your eyeball right now, and
Which is something you definitely want to hear.
right before gay or anytime.
Remember when you had pus coming out of your knee because you had an infected
Well,
wound? Yeah,
luckily
that's what your eyeball looks
she
like
didn't
right
really
now.
tell me that in the moment. To again, shout out to Dr. Webb at
Is that one B or two B's?
two B's, I
Oh,
think, at Shoreline Optometry. She stayed super calm. She didn't freak me out. She said, one, you do have a chemical burn. Two, you just barely missed your line of sight.
I think that if she didn't stay calm, you probably would want to find another optometrist. Like, you definitely don't want your optometrist to be like, "Oh shit!" Like that's
but
not.
but like she knew I was trying to go to a gig. She
Yeah.
knew that I was supposed that was on Saturday. She knew
Well,
that I
we were.
was leaving the next day
Yeah, and that's when these
to
things
go to
happen. That's
Houston.
what always when these things happen too. Is like and that's part of the problem. Is like if this was a Tuesday and like Rox is at school or whatever, like that's manageable. That's like, okay, let's be on the safe side, take you to the whatever. Like we were on two different timers, which was one, the actual gig, which was a like late afternoon. Like we were supposed to start playing at like 3:45, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And Farmstead, which is the restaurant, is up in St. Helena, so it's a long drive. And so like all these, and I have to go to get Alan in San Francisco. And so it's like all of these like timers, right? It's like be one thing if it's like, all right, like the gigs in Santa Clara. It's like, okay, well, you can, we have all this time you can kind of use to push up against downbeat or whatever. But you
Nope.
can't do that when you have a long drive and you got to, and we're setting up all our own gear. So it's like, not like, okay, well, our crew, Frank and Stu, they got sound covered and the other guys will be there setting up. And if we roll in pretty close to go time, we can figure it out. This is like,
I'm the only
one of
singer.
us has to be there. Well, I mean, I guess I could have sang, but they're not hiring. They're hiring us based on both of us being there.
Right.
And quite frankly, like if one of us is going to sing a whole gig, it probably should be you, not me, because like you can kind of just go, all right, I'm just gonna call songs and just go. And between you and Alan, really, like the songbook for me, I'm like, I don't know what I know. Like
I don't
I
know
have
what
to
I
look at
know.
a spreadsheet every time I do a set list because I'm like, I don't know what I know.
That's so
And when
funny.
I've done gigs with other people, like, well, send your song list. I'm like, I don't have a song list. I mean, so
Yeah.
anyway, we said we had that timer, but then we also had the timer of, we're doing this gig on Saturday, and then Sunday we're flying to Houston. So, and relatively early,
Yeah, we were leaving really early.
like super early.
Mhm.
So like it wasn't even like, okay, we got to go to Houston on Tuesday. So like we'll get through this gig and then Monday, or it's just like everything is condensed.
It really like sped up the clock. And she told me, and then of course she tells me, like I said, this is on Saturday. She's like, go get these special drops. I want you to keep your eye as lubricated as possible. Can you like do it on the set break? And I'm like, it's my gig, it's my band. I'm gonna be doing it on stage on every song. Like this eye is going to be swimming in that eye socket. But she's like, well, I definitely want to see you on Monday. And I'm like, I don't get home till Tuesday though. Like, will my like, does this mean that I shouldn't go? Like, please tell me this isn't a thing.
So like,
And
if you're
then
not blind by then come back and see
I
me.
know, but she said, keep in touch with me and just keep it lubricated with the drops and come and see. She's like, when you land, I want you back in office as soon as you get home. And I literally went from the airport basically to my eye appointment when we got back.
Yeah.
But so like all that, and but again, like knowing that you're managing your own stress, but you don't want to put your stress on me because I'm the one that's dealing with a medical emergency right then and there, and there's nothing I can do. And it's like we also have to think about the longevity of my eye health, and we don't know what's going on.
There's certain things you
And
just don't mess around with. Like, you don't mess around with your eyesight. You don't mess around with your teeth. Like obviously there's other things that rise to like the level of like an actual medical emergency.
but
But
it's in
it's
those
not like it's
moments.
not like you banged your arm and you're like, oh, that didn't feel very good. I hope it's not broken. But like you go do the get, like that's something you could like wait a couple days. Like people blow their ACLs or MCLs, like blow their knee out and then kind of like, I'll go to the doctor in a week. Like this is not one of those things. So
Right.
if you really think you have a chemical burn or whatever, like you don't wait a couple days to go to the doctor. Like it has to be handled.
But it was just like,
Yeah.
man, and you were so supportive, but also like, all right, well, you get there when you get there. It's like this tightness. And I know that you're not trying to make, like, again, I know you're not trying to make me feel bad, and you are being supportive, and you're having me do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But it's like that thing of where you're both just kind of like like wanting to pace or rock or
Well, part of it is like at a certain point, like with all these things that you've talked about, these like kind of mini emergencies or hurdles that we've had to jump over the years, it's like at a certain point you just have to go like, okay, well, you got to go handle that. I have to go handle the gig
yeah.
because even if you show up 10, 15 minutes late, the stuff still has to be like set up. Like that won't work if I'm also showing up 10 to 15 minutes late. So it's like I also don't want to be like, well, good luck with that. Like, see you at the gig. But it's like, Like those things have to be.
Well, luckily for us, because we both are in this industry, we do recognize that unless your hand's hanging off or you're lost a toe, like we know that the other one's going to pick up the slack and pick up the ball and take off with
Yeah.
it. So it's like that. We don't hold any ill will against each other if we're like, oh, but you gotta go to the, well, great, thanks. So I have to go do it all myself. Like there's none of that.
Yeah, I mean, you
But
see people's true colors when stuff like that happens. It's like I've witnessed other people, luckily not people that I like
surround
care
yourself.
about,
Yeah.
well, I care about everybody, but like, like not my, but I've seen witness other people in sort of differing states of emergency, and it really does tell you a lot about their ability to like communicate and compromise and problem solve and
Compartmentalize
compartmentalize and prioritize and a lot of
all the
other
eyes.
eyes words. But like I've never forget, like I was playing I might have told the story before, but I was playing softball in Pleasanton, and Pleasanton, they had like golf carts lined up that I guess they use for the park or whatever. And I mean, and when I was a kid, I'd jump around and play on stuff or whatever, but like they somebody slammed somebody else's finger in like the seats lift up on those golf carts and the battery and stuff is underneath that,
Right.
and somebody lifted the seat up and somebody's finger got crushed basically, and in a way that must have been pretty gnarly. I didn't see it myself, but people were freaking out. But these two parents were just like one of the first of all, the dad was playing in the game that I was in, so it's like another thing. Well, what the hell, like you're
Uh,
just playing the game, and then all of a sudden, like your wife is screaming bloody murder. But also, it was like they couldn't figure out what to do, and they were like calling an ambulance, but then like it was just like you know I,
Pick your kid up and drive him to the
they
ER.
weren't like they were just like stuck, and I was like, look, Valley Care, like the emergency room is like 10 minutes away.
Mm.
Get in the car and drive there, like um and I'm not doing a good job of like it just was this paralysis of like, and I understand you see your kid hurt and it freaks you out and you freeze and but it reminded me in that moment. I was like, when these things happen, you just have to. We've had them like you fainted one time and hit your head. It was like, all right, well, you lost consciousness and hit your head. We have to take you to the emergency room. Like you have to get checked out.
Right.
It's no use in freaking out about it or
Yeah.
like or like it's like you came back to consciousness. So I'm also like, well, I'm not calling an ambulance because we live in America where that's gonna like set us back. We'll be in medical debt for the rest of our lives. So it's like, okay, well, let's go.
Right.
I'm thankful I've seen you do those things as well, where it's like it's just okay. This is what's
Just
happening.
handle it.
Assess and go. And
Yeah.
I mean, the frustrating thing with this particular specific scenario was that it was Saturday that we did have a gig. And, so like you are trying to get your optometrist or any not optometrist, ophthalmologist. There is a difference. You're trying to track one down on when they're not all in the office, or most of them are not in the office. So
Right.
it's like, again, had it even been a Friday, it would have been like, okay, well, I'm sure we could work this out. But there was like all these like, hurdles, which, but
Yeah.
hey, to our credit and mostly your credit, like A, it got handled. B, you're not blind. C, you don't even have you ended up when you went back for your follow up, she said it was healed.
Yeah.
So
She said, she let out a sigh and she was like, I gotta tell you, like,
yeah.
I didn't want to panic you or freak you out, but I was really worried that you were going to have a scar. She had prepared me, but she was like, this is best case scenario.
Yeah.
And all that to say, though, is that like we handled it, but it wasn't ideal because you were also, you weren't entering the norm situation that we go into with gigs. And we do rely on each other. We rely on each other to um, keep our nerves in check and just like we that's why we make that, what am I trying to say? We're good partners in that way, and that we support each other and we go into new situations and with confidence and everything. But like you didn't have me, and so you're going into it alone. You're waiting to hear from me what my ETA is, but not only that, am I okay? And wanting to know that I'm okay to drive and everything like that. So I kept checking in with you along the way. I made it there right in time, like
Yeah.
with a couple, like 5 minutes to spare, five
Well,
ten minutes to spare.
they were early, so you
Okay.
were there with actually 15 minutes to spare, but they showed
Woo!
up like 10 minutes early. So
What?
mm,
What? So I
yeah.
made it. Um,
Well, and Alan and Danny, to their credit, thanks fellas, helped a lot with setup. And then the gig ended up. I mean, it was fun. They were a really cool group of people, and they did do their wedding ceremony, which ended up being super funny.
it was kind of
Like
like a
it
roast.
was yeah, it was not a serious wedding ceremony. It was goofy, and I could tell they loved each other and everything, but they were all roasting each other in their vows. They were roasting each other, like the people, like the officiant. It was all
It was funny.
very funny. But we only maybe played like 25-30 minutes. Like we played a little bit before, and then they did the wedding ceremony, and then we played like maybe 2 or 3 songs, and then they went inside to have dinner, and they had like a speaker and a playlist in there or whatever.
10 out of
So
10.
yeah, I mean, we made a good impression. They're gonna have us maybe do some more parties where we can play longer, but it was like all this like stress and build up and hurdles to jump over, and then you get there and you're like, it was ended up being cold also, so I wasn't mad that we didn't play that long.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
because we're
also like
outside.
sometimes we do these gigs, where they have these events or whatever, and it's like all this build up and drama and logistical hurdles and whatever, and then the gig is just like sort of over like that, and you're like,
Was that even good? Did that just happen? Kind of thing. Was like,
people,
I mean,
yeah, you expect,
I did have, because of my eye, I did have a moment though where I was like, I was laughing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, the grass is so green.
yeah,
The sky, I this color of gray is beautiful because I can see and I don't, I have my eyes like how lucky am I and I get to sing today and it was so funny, but it was like that thing of like a new lease on life and seeing everything with a little bit clearer and brighter.
yeah, nothing makes you
Um
appreciate your like things like your eyesight, like almost losing it. uh,
I don't think it was that bad, but it could have been.
well, I mean,
If it would
but you
have,
could have had a permanent spot in your
I
vision, and
know that
like
would
I
have.
have eye floaters, which is a super annoying, occasionally annoying thing to just live with. So I'm glad that you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know
yeah. And then
uh,
going back to the gig too, it was funny because once again, you still put the time and energy and thought into the set list that then kind of basically went out the window.
yeah, yeah,
But also it speaks to our ability to just pivot and adapt and we played Dancing Queen and then they were like, "Oh, more ABBA." And we're like, "Okay, let's go into Gimme 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 with no track." Poor Alan playing bass and all the
yeah.
lines.
I mean, he loves the challenge, but it is like we're not.
But I'm
We
like,
don't go rehearse the whole Mercy
it's
songbook.
fine.
We don't go rehearse the whole Mercy songbook with Alan kicking bass. It's just something like when it comes up, we're just like, it'll probably be fine.
It's fine.
It's a different thing, right? So anyway, yeah, it all went off without a hitch, and then we ended up in Houston without a hitch. Um,
Well, the couple new things was that it's not totally without a hitch. It was the first time Alan joined us.
all right, yeah, we got Alan on the Houston on the rock and roll
It was rock and roll
team
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 building
building team.
team.
Yeah,
And he got really thrown into the deep end. So like without a hitch for us, but feeling responsible for bringing Alan in and then not having a rehearsal, really getting to
yeah.
run,
There's no rehearsal. There was no day before sound check where we often go over things as a group.
right?
It ended up being like it was a kind of a whole day thing. So it was like a lot of material because we had both Kieran's keynote, which has all the NXS songs in it, but a bunch of other like musical kind of stings and moments. We were playing people into the room, out of the room, as far as just like break music. And then we were doing stings, playing people on and off stage, playing behind awards, but this time with no stage manager. So I'm just sort of like guessing at when to like kick stuff off. And um,
This one was a very like in comparison to other ones that we've done, it was very laid back, very
yeah,
um more bare bones kind of thing, which was more difficult because it was just different than what we're used to and we didn't have that direction all the time. And then getting in, so then we had the earliest load in. So we had to lobby call was at 5:45. And these gigs are rough as far as like usually we've traveled the day before, then we have an early call in the morning. I don't think it's ever been this early. So 5:45 lobby call, walk into the venue. We're like feeling pretty good for 5:45 and walk in at 6 and walk on stage and there is nothing set up.
Yeah.
Bare stage.
I felt really,
It was
I was annoyed, but I felt really bad for Nicole because, you know, like we've been in all these, when we do Mercy stuff, we're usually advancing these gigs. So, you know, you do all these emails and calls and video chats and whatever back and forth with planners, clients, venues, whatever, to try to like nail down what is happening so that when you get their day of, it's just like, no, you're not, you should just be able to like go.
yeah.
And Nicole had done all these production meetings and all this back and forth with the client and the venue. And then there was also a backline company that was supplementing gear that the venue had or whatever. And, you know, like what was supposed to happen was that everything was supposed to be kind of set up and wired and kind of ready to go at 6 a.m. when we walked in so that we could sound check and kind of get comfortable and then like get off stage and eat before, because like we started playing at like 8 or
Yeah.
something like that. So
8:45.
yeah. No, it was like 8:15, wasn't it?
8:45.
Oh, well, whatever. But like what
Still
ended up
early.
happening instead was everybody just rolled in at 6. So we walk in, there's no microphones set up on stage, there's no cables ran,
Yep.
none of the backline gear is set up. Not only is the backline gear not set up, it's not there.
Yeah.
Um and me being like loving my sleep, I'm kind of like it's going to be like at least 30 minutes at best
Mm-hmm.
before we can even literally do anything, probably more like an hour. So instead of a 5:45 a.m. lobby call, I could have been a 6:45 a.m. lobby call,
Yep.
which is a pretty big difference in what time your alarm goes off, especially when you're 2 hours ahead. So a
Yep.
5:40 at 5:45 a.m. lobby call is 3:45 a.m. for us. So I'm already annoyed by that and trying to like not immediately make a bad impression on the crew. Um, because no matter how annoyed or upset or whatever you are, it like doesn't do you any good usually. Sometimes you got to get up people's asses, but like generally it's better to like you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
But
That's the way
also
I,
the
you know.
crew there that was there wasn't responsible for the back line.
Some of it they were. The
Oh.
like the drum kit, like the backline company brought cymbals for me.
But
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 it was the house drum set.
oh. But like Lee, our monitor guy.
Well, yeah, but this is what I mean though. It's like
So-
it'd be really, really easy in those moments to like be what the what the whatever and throw a tantrum. And Nicole's making phone calls and she's doing what she should be doing as like our sort of like team leader, I guess. She's sort of the all things for us. She's like the tour manager. She's the production like she's
Well, so
all these things.
imagine how that had to feel.
Yeah,
Like I know that she probably felt like crap, like she let us down and everything. And it's not on her. We know that she did her part
right.
and stuff, but like how bad that must have felt. We all just went like we were walking in, talking and everything, and then we hit the stage and we all just went like silent. Nobody complained. We grumbled a little bit, like I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like there was that kind of thing. But like we also it's don't want to make Nicole feel bad,
No.
and like she's awesome. She goes above and beyond, and there's even a little part of what she's doing that we're going to bring into the episodes. So
Yeah.
that's coming up. Um, she's awesome. She again goes above and beyond. She does so many great things for us, and there's so many great things that come with the company because she's the one doing it, and we wouldn't be doing these things if it wasn't for her and her vision. And she is badass and like such a runs a tight ship. So when something like that goes wrong, yes, she was upset, but I know that that also had to be like, I'm supposed to be the leader here, and like I'm the one that's spearheading this and doesn't want to let us down.
Yeah, but she also takes on our stuff. So if we start freaking out or we start getting upset or annoyed or whatever, it also influences the way that she approaches these situations. And from where I'm sitting, I'm like, I can see what's happening. Like, I know that the crew is just starting to set stuff up. Getting upset at them is not going to make it go any faster. So luckily, everybody's super pro. Um, I started setting up the gear that I could set up, and when they brought the drum set down, I set that up. Like, the prissy sort of spoiled part of me, like, wanted to be like, nah, I'm not. You're getting somebody here is getting paid to set this gear up for me.
I could feel it so much.
But I'm
I
all
had to keep leaving because I could see you. Like, now nobody else would know. Like, nobody else would know looking at you, but I could see it in you and the way you were like, I'm just gonna loosen this thing here, and this isn't my freaking job right now. Like, I could be, I should be playing right now, but instead
or
I'm,
sleeping. Yeah.
but I was like, I had to keep leaving. I was like,
Well,
I can't
yeah.
watch it, and there was nothing for me to do.
Well, and the thing is again, in that moment, I'm like, well, I'm not too good to set up my own gear. Like, is somebody else supposed to have done it for me? Yes. I'm not tearing it down. I'm walking off stage. Like, I'm out of here when we're done. But like, I'm not gonna be like, so who's like that? I'm not gonna. That will not happen.
No, no, you've never done that.
But the thing is too is you talked about we were just talking about our own time crunches and countdowns and stuff with the gig the day before, literally the day before, where there's all these like time crunches and timelines and everything that we have to like, well, shoot, like, we got to drive to San Francisco, drive to like,
Right.
it's again the next morning, literally 2 days later, we're in the same, less than 2 days later, we're in the same predicament where it's like, well, this event starts at whatever time. Like, people
Well,
show up here and start walking in at this time, and we start playing at this time, and this is the time allotted. So, like,
doors were 8.
right. Doors were
So
8. We started playing, yeah.
doors were 8. We were there at 6. Nothing. We have now we're looking at the clock and we're seeing the time go by of like less time to run anything that we needed to run,
Yeah.
less time to get ears dialed in, less time to like when we're just seeing the time just go like this.
Yeah.
And
And
not because we don't want to be sound checking when people
no.
are walking in. And it did
No.
happen. There were a couple people that walked in and it was
Yeah.
like it felt ugly.
Well, it's also like on a gig like that, I don't get the inner workings of the financials, but it cannot be all that cheap to fly us all out to Houston and put us up in a hotel. And they're renting the venue, they're doing all this stuff, and they're paying us for our time. And like, you don't want the client to start being like, because then
Well, that
you
wasn't on
do
us.
well, I know, but then you get into that blame game, right, where you start,
Yeah.
well, they did. It's just like, it's not a place you want to be.
Yeah.
You just want to get it handled. And if there has to be like follow-up conversations or whatever, then that's what you do. But everybody was super pro, and like I said, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar usually, and everybody was like minded their manners. And I know that the crew knew that something was wrong or something was lost in translation or whatever, and they worked hard for us,
Yeah.
and especially like you said, Lee, the monitor engineers. We were in the House of Blues in Houston, so it's a music venue. It's set up for music,
Right.
so that kind of gives us a little bit of an advantage in that, like, the people we often like go into these corporate settings, and it's AV, sound and video and lighting people that don't work with bands.
Yeah.
All their training is on like, like
Running
speaker,
running a projector with pre-recorded music
yeah,
cues
and like a
and
wireless lapel mic for somebody giving a speech or whatever, when
yes.
they don't know how to like run, because it is a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Running sound for a live band, there's like way more channels to worry about. Like, the signal chain is different. Like, you have to run monitors for all these people, for us, like,
So many god mics.
yeah, there's just a lot going on. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can really bog down just like how long things take, um, how good the actual, like, final product is, as far as your ear mix or the front of house mix or whatever. So
Right.
we were had an advantage that way, in that like we had a monitor engineer and the other sound techs, front of house, and the A1 A2 people know how to set up and run sound for a band.
Yeah.
So our they the front of house is very efficient, but also our monitor engineer Lee, super nice guy, got us dialed very quickly, and it
Was
like
just
all
good at it.
yeah, it came together. It came together in a way that it could have been a disaster, and it wasn't. And in those moments, I'm always like, am I annoyed? Am I this? Yeah, whatever. But like, I come out going like, hey, good job, everybody, not like losing your shit, basically. Like, good job, like being a pro and
Shout out to
just
Mike Shiono. Shout out to Jeff Subru. Shout out to Kieran Gribben. Um, like I said, Alan Leong.
shout out to me, shout out
You,
to
yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle is once again doing MD duties on these gigs, and it's always chef's kiss. And I love the way you are really good at, like, I mean, you have even a harder, like, I only have to manage myself.
Yeah, but we
And
got two different. I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you.
but no, but it's like
But
you're managing yourself, but you're also like having to keep everybody on track and like cue and call endings and everything like that. So it's like, thank you.
yeah, well, but you have a hard job too, in that like on these gigs, I'm playing drums on these gigs, and I am usually musical directing, kind of band leading. That means both like the prep, like leading up, making sure everybody has the right material, making sure everybody's clear on the keys of the songs, all that kind of stuff. And then on stage, I have a like a what we call God mic or comms mic that only goes to everybody's ears. People out in the audience can't hear it, and I'm counting songs off. I'm telling people when to end. I'm reminding people what's coming up. But you are extremely public facing on these gigs, and that you're like part of Kieran's keynote and like going out in the audience and talking to people, interviewing them, asking questions, like moving over here on the stage, or when we're in these big rooms, like go to the other side of the room and be ready to do this cue and the spotlight's going to hit you. It's like you got all that stuff to do too.
Yeah.
So in these situations, like you have to like get into a different mindset. Like
Yeah.
I can kind of be like, oh, all right, and I'm back there on the drums, and I just be like, right, I can kind of be a little like grumpy if I need to be, whereas you have to like, turn the
Ta-da!
smile on, which is a superpower of yours. But it's like you do have to shake that stuff off,
Yeah.
shake it off, um,
Shake, shake.
because you can't be like, you
I
can't be
can't be
like,
sitting there like a bump on the log.
you can't be grumpy and have like like those people got up early too, and
Yeah.
like they're there, and we have to like get their buy-in. You have to earn these people's like trust in a way,
Hmm.
because it's really easy for people to be like, I'm not participating, I'm not giving you my attention,
And this
and
was a very quiet, subdued group. They were shy. It wasn't that they had it wasn't like they had a bad attitude or they were grumpy because it was too early. They were really like very closed off and shy. And people don't know this about me. I'm open about it with well, my closest friends know that I can still be super shy. My superpower, I don't know if it's a superpower or more trauma response, is I know how to override my shyness. And I'm the very fake it till you make it. Inside, I might be dying, and my inner self is cringing and curled up in the fetal position. But I have learned to push past it and stuff. But this group, and because I was getting such resistance, it was making me then like I was kind of like freaking out inside, because like it's like I'm already trying so
yeah.
hard, y'all. I'm already trying so hard to push past my shyness and my fear of asking the wrong question or getting tongue tied or whatever. And so it's like then it starts this thing of like, I need you to give me something so that
Well, and
I can.
yeah, and it's a good thing that you're out there doing it, because you're nicer than me. Because
That is not true.
you ask people for like, all right, we need some words and phrases, like about your company, about what it's like to work here, about the theme of the event or whatever, and you always get some really basic answers. That's just the way it goes. But this one in particular, they were like, it's good, I like it, and like I would have been like, yeah, if you could give me like something more than like, what a 3-year-old would, like it's just
Meow.
to me it's like yes, you like working here. We understand your boss is listening. If you could give us something more,
Right.
you know.
This was the first time they'd done anything like
Yeah.
this. The people that were putting it on were lovely,
Super great. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they were so cool, and they were so enthusiastic, and they were just so excited. The CEO, um, we did a portion where they kind of lip sync, and oh no, they really actually sang, and it
Yeah,
was
but
like
they have a way of pulling the microphone down and not really singing into it,
yeah,
you know.
but like they get really dressed up. One person dressed up as Madonna. Um, who was that? That was the one top guy. Oh my gosh, his name just went out of my head. I know that his last name is
Keith, wasn't it?
Keith Huckabee.
Yeah,
Was that his name?
I think so. That was the guy that was our contact or whatever, yeah.
That was Madonna.
Yes.
Okay, Keith Huckabee,
Mhm.
because he's gonna do a podcast called "What the Huck." I remember that. I love that. Um,
Be the first guest on What the Hook.
he was Madonna, and then there was a couple gals that did "Shake It Off," and somebody came out and did "Sweet Home Alabama."
Yeah, Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, we do like sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't. It's always shifting depending on what the event is or
Right.
whatever. But
It was a cute moment, and they
yeah,
were bought in, and they were really
yeah.
enthusiastic,
No, I mean,
and
I'm painting with a broad brush. There were some people that told some really personal stories and did, they were vulnerable, but I'm just always struck by like because you go and put him. Okay, so I'm here with Tony. Tony, where you from? And then it's like, oh, I'm Alexandria or whatever. All right, Tony, like
some people wouldn't even say the city. They'd be Texas.
Texas is a big state.
Cool. What part of Texas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like, all right, let's give it. Uh, you know, it's cool. Like, thanks a lot.
Everybody, when I came near, eye contact, totally gone, all like shifting away, and
I'm
like
just
they're
constantly
all like, "Don't come over here."
constantly reminded that like public speaking is like a fear that ranks above some very painful ways to die. You know,
Dumb
like
ways to die.
which has always been insane to me because I just like not that I don't ever get shy or not that I don't ever have trouble finding my words, but like I I learned to be a good public speaker. I did training to be a good public speaker. And like to answer the question like, well, would you rather like be burned alive or have to speak in front of a group of people and like people that are literally like I'd rather burn to death.
Yeah.
It's just insane to me. And
Yeah.
it's also like it's like okay, I can understand that it would be really intimidating for some people to like step onto the stage where we were, where the entire company is looking back at you and
Right.
have to like say something. I get that. But when you're in the audience and everybody's all seated together, like that you
Yeah.
are paralyzed by like, well, I don't have to speak into this microphone. It's like,
Right.
I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad, but it's just like, oh my God.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Well, that being said, this is, I think, a good segue into one of the parts that was implemented. That it was the first time I got to see was, I mean, we all know, or if you know me, I am big on fifis, and I like to talk about feelings and vulnerability, and I but to be honest, that wasn't something I was always good at. It's something that I've had to practice and I've really worked on. I'd say probably the last 10 years. And one of the things I had even wanted to open this episode with was, I always try to come from a place of vulnerability and share. And, I've been so antsy and pissy because we got to get this season going off, because I know for me, a lot of my, for better or worse, identity is wrapped up in working and working consistently. Um, and, you know, it, I get really big and caught up in the comparison game when I feel like everybody's gigging except for me. And does that mean that I'm not good enough? We're not good enough. What are we doing wrong? Like I immediately go there. Um, but I always try to come from a place of vulnerability, and that's my own journey to figure out my path to be on and explore more around that and everything. But so all of it really comes back to vulnerability. And where did I put them? Oh, right here. So one of the things that we were talking about in at Rock and Roll Team Building is that there's not a lot of vulnerability always welcome in or brought into the workplace. And the more vulnerable you can be with somebody, the more connected you can be with somebody. And it doesn't mean sharing things inappropriately, but it all comes back to connection. And you work with people 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And some of these people don't know each other. I don't know anything past what you see on the day to day. And you kind of forget the humanness or the humanity, I guess would be the correct word. But
Some of us want to live in an empathetic world, you know, like me. I value empathy, you know, sense of humor, a big one, like trust is a big one, but like empathy is a incredibly, if not the most important, one of the most important qualities that I value in another human being. And like one of the ways you build empathy is by like understanding what people's lives might be like, or what people might be going through, or what at any given time. Doesn't mean I want to like be somebody's therapist every single time I see them, right? But
right,
it's like, you know, it's that thing where like, yeah, somebody's being a jerk in the grocery store or something. It's like maybe their mom just died, or maybe they just got a bad diagnosis, or maybe what, you know, it's like,
right.
now that only goes to a point. You know,
Yeah.
you can push past my empathy threshold without a whole lot of effort, but like, so I'm always trying to be like, I try not to flash on people, or I try not to like immediately go. We were just talking about this the other day with like maybe with my family, like at my niece's birthday dinner or whatever. But it's like uh, I was talking about why I try not to get to anger. Like I do have a switch that flips, and I do have a trigger. I have triggers, but it's like to me, it's like when you get to anger, it's so anger. A is a very convenient emotion
Oh yeah, I love anger.
because it masks a lot of other stuff can be masked under anger. But also, like once you get to anger, and especially if it's involving other people, which it often is. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people just getting angry in their house by themselves. If you are, seek help. But like you're dealing with other people in one way or another, and so if you're angry and they're angry, it's like it's so much harder to get back to a place where you can um, like be rational, where you can converse, where you can problem solve. Like you have to solve the anger before you can solve anything else. So to
Yes.
me, I'm always like, well, I'm going to try not to get there unless I absolutely have to, because it's very hard. Like anger and embarrassment are very
Oh,
hard emotions to get back from,
yep.
you know. And if somebody is, especially if somebody is embarrassed, you meet them with empathy, you meet them with sympathy, maybe not sympathy as much as empathy, but like
Mm.
that's what I'm kind of getting at. So like I've worked with some people. We both have worked a lot of different jobs,
Yes.
and we both have had a lot of different coworkers of all ages and stripes and backgrounds and whatever. And it's not that I've never had conflict with coworkers, but it's also like you end up finding out things about people, and you're like, oh, maybe that's why they're a little bristly, or
Well, case in point, yesterday you had a lot of empathy for me last night because I was getting in my fifis because I was getting super competitive. I was getting, like I said, pissy. And, I see people that get gigs that I want. And like I've said before, I think every gig should be mine and that I should get a crack at
you're
everything.
not wrong about that.
Um, but to have a little understanding of where that comes from, I've been in the music industry since I was 8 years old. So I didn't have a lot of control. And I'm not slagging on my parents, but it was constantly put in me that I had to be bigger and better. And if I wasn't getting the gig that I wanted, it was because I wasn't trying hard enough and I wasn't doing enough. And that started at 8 years old, y'all. Like 8 years old to tell a human that like they have some control over that, and you do to a point. I mean, you want to instill a good work ethic, and you want to instill pride in your work and everything like that. But at 8 years old, that takes on a whole different like thing though. And so now I find like, why do I get so triggered, and why do I get so like I get dysregulated and everything, because it just the green monster comes out and takes over. And then it's like, oh, like my identity is wrapped up in this whole messaging for my almost my whole entire life of, you have to be bigger and better, and if you're not at this level, then you didn't succeed. And so like that gets wrapped up. And so all coming back to always wanting to be vulnerable. Was really excited when Nicole brought up what she's doing now. It's called Soundtrack Stories. Soundtrack Stories. And it says, every song holds a memory, every memory has a story. Pick up a card and spark a conversation that might weave a new note into the story you're living today. So that's going to be something that we're going to be starting to do on our episode. Is we're going to pull a card, and it's a deck of cards. And I highly encourage y'all to look it up and get a deck, because this is a good way to start conversations, because everybody has a story, I think, around music. um, and it is true. Soundtrack stories, stories that I mean, we talk about all the time of how there's so many milestones and these markers of our relationship based on the songs that we've sent each other, or like, oh, remember when we heard this song, or I remember we were driving in Florida and this song came on, and I'll never forget how he looked at me when I sang the rap in Any Man of Mine, and there's all these little
I did
things.
feel feelings.
So that's going to be a part that I'm really super excited to do on the podcast.
I
I
mean,
wanted to do it today, but we were already over an hour.
yeah.
um, but so we'll start that next show.
All right. I
Yeah.
don't know how long these are supposed to be. I guess
I don't
about
know.
an
I,
hour
I
is
try
about.
to keep it at an hour, but I think this has been awesome. We're getting ready now. We were supposed to be out of town this week, and due to the blizzards that are happening right now on the East Coast, we're pretty much grounded, but that's okay. But we are heading back to out on the road with Rock and Roll Team Building. We're going to be in Tucson. So there'll be another thing to debrief. And so then we'll get into the soundtrack stories. And then we got some news about Mercy and the Heartbeats and some other exciting things that are starting to happen. So my life will have meaning again.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to just, I'll say this in your defense and in my own defense, because I have those feelings too. But this time of year is such a crapshoot with gigs. There's been years where we've had quite a few gigs through the first couple months, and there's years where it's really bare. And this one has been a particularly slow. And you want to feel like everybody's really slow, and they are to a certain degree. But because with social media, you see every single thing that every single band is doing, and it makes you feel like you're not doing anything, even though we have had stuff going on. But it's hard. It's hard to sit, and you want to be proactive and productive, and you want to feel like you're using your time wisely. But also, like, we're tired, and we did have a really busy year,
We
and so
did.
it's like it's hard to balance those things, to feel like, well, make use of the time you have. But it's also like, yeah, but also sometimes I want to make use of the time I have by doing like leisure activities
Right.
before I know I'm going to be like doing 8 set lists a month and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
but it's hard
I
to
know
it's hard to balance that stuff,
we should be kind of like, this is like the real I have been. Today I was populating our calendar and I was like, oh my god, like I should be very like taking in this downtime, because we do hit the ground running by April, and then it's like
I
crazy
mean,
pants.
March is busy.
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot going on. So,
But
but it's hard. Like, me, I'll work. Like, I would never stop working. At least with music, like,
right.
I would never stop working. So sometimes when I'm forced to cool it a little bit, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
But we both have that. I mean, I think it's a musician thing. It's like we are collaborative and we are supportive of each other, and we do want everybody to be doing well, but not at our expense. We
Yeah.
are we are we also all have egos, and we also, like, especially in our industry, it's like, of course we want to see our friends doing well, but we're also competitors to a certain degree. Like, we're running our own little small businesses, and
Yep.
like, it's easy to root for somebody else when you're already booked on the date that they're working. You know,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
we're
yeah.
already booked, it's like, oh yeah, well we're booked, so hey, you know, go with God. But like
Right.
when we're not, and we see somebody else working, and it's like, well, that should have been our gig. It's like, of course
Yeah.
it should have in our mind, right? It's hard.
I'm a work in progress. I'm a
Yeah,
work in
yeah,
progress.
you're great.
And
We also
I
like we balance each other in that way. Like even when in the moment I'm like, I don't know what to do with this feeling. Like you're upset about this thing, but I don't know what to do with this.
I know you were just like, okay, well, we're gonna start working soon. Well,
Yeah.
we're doing this.
But it balances because we need your competitive edge, and I think we need my sort of like big picture, like it's like we're successful, things are going well, you know, every year we, you know, we've paid our rent and kept the lights on and done fun stuff and everything, all while mostly making our money with music related activities. And you know, to me that's a huge success in one of the most high cost of living areas in the world.
Absolutely. That being said, you're going to be playing drums for Victoria George and her. We'll talk more in the next episode because we'll have time. But Victoria George is doing her album release party at the Sweetwater on March 22nd.
It's Sunday, so yeah, that'll be that Sunday.
And that would be a great show for people to come out. She's one of my favorite singer songwriters. She has a perfect voice. And I got to sing a couple songs
Yeah,
on the album with her.
you're
I
gonna
got to
be
sing
on that gig
backgrounds.
too, singing backgrounds on that
Yeah.
gig.
But and we also we got to go last weekend. We got to go and see Adam and the Aces, who is a band out of Sacramento area that I had wanted to see, and they did a set of disco, and then they did a set that unfortunately we didn't get to stay till the end, but they did Y2K, and they were great. I really enjoyed myself. I thought it was great, and I had a great time. And so we should debrief that at some point too.
Yeah, I wish the rest of our band had watched the gig because if they ever complain about me overworking them, like that band played a disco medley that basically was like almost an hour and a half long, maybe, you know, like with no
No
stopping.
stop
And
whatsoever.
I was
Killer
impressed. Yeah, because
vocals.
I feel like we have a very brisk pace to what we do, which is what I want, right? But I was watching them and I was like,
Yeah,
man,
you
this is,
actually
you
were
know,
like, "Do you know?"
yeah,
But we'll
it's
have to
impressive.
debrief that
Yeah,
later too. All right, so on to whatever we got going on this week.
yep,
We'll see you on the flip side.
yep. Love you.
Love you too.
You said that you found me, but you know that it was I found